Las cosas que necesito en la vida ya están aquí. Las cosas que necesito en la vida ya están aquí. I am free.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Camino Cafe. I'm so happy that you're joining us at our table today. We have a really exciting folks here today that we're going to be talking to, but I wanted to make a couple of quick announcements. If the voice sounds a little bit better today, that is thanks to the Camino providing. We had a listener, a fellow Camino pilgrim, and that is Allison and John Veneto. And they just reached out to me. We haven't ever met in person, but they've been listening to the show and we're probably noticing that the sound wasn't always that great. And they just happened to have an extra mic and they gifted that to me. So I just wanted to say a special, special thanks to Allison and John for doing that. And just to show everyone that the Camino continues to provide long after you finish. And I am living proof of that many times. It's amazing. I also wanted to mention that if you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. We love the feedback, and the more feedback that is posted, the more times the video is going to get shared or it'll come up on people's searches. So we really appreciate that. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, we would love it if you would give us a rating of 5 stars if you love it, and also subscribe to episodes. So if I seem a little excited this morning, it is because I just came off of an amazing Camino Pilgrim weekend. I was on Vashon Island with Phil Volker and all the Camino heads, and what an amazing weekend we had. It was full of pilgrim love, and I just want to give a big shout out to all the Camino heads and to Phil. You may have already, by the time you watch this, or listen to this, you may have already heard his episode. We did 2 interviews live right there on Vashon Island. So it was an amazing weekend, and I'm already missing all of my new Camino family members that I met that weekend, and what a joy it was to see Phil. So anyway, that shout out. But today we are here with Kelli and Jeff Vildara. Did I get that right?
You did.
Is it close?
Close.
All right. Close. All right. Well, what is it? Let's get it official. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Vildara. It's fine.
Dara.
You did great.
Vildara. All right. Okay. So, wow, I'm so excited to have Kelli and Jeff here with us because they have an amazing blog. I first found out about them from Maria Seco, my Spanish teacher, for all of you that have been listening. And Maria said, hey, Lee, you got to interview Kelli. You need to be checking out her blog. So I did that several months ago, and I've been following their blog since then. And finally got the nerve to reach out to them and invite them to be on the Camino Cafe. So they are currently sitting in Spain. They're in Galicia. So we'll have them tell us more about that. But you can see on their screensaver what a beautiful virtual background they have there. So Kelli and Jeff, could you kind of just give everybody an idea of where you guys are located on the Camino Frances?
Sure. Actually, Jeff has a map.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
So we'll show you.
So there you go. We're in Galicia. It'd be halfway between Palos de Rey and Melide. And we're right on the Camino at about kilometer marker number 59. So 59 kilometers to Santiago.
Okay, great.
So we're
great.
we're 3 days. We're 3 days from Santiago.
Okay, that is a beautiful area. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So now you guys were originally, when you filed for your visa, you were living in Arizona. Were you from Arizona originally or from Seattle? Because I saw some Seattle stuff too. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm on Bainbridge Island, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so very familiar with Seattle. So Kelli, you walked the Camino first for your family, and that was back in 2017. And you walked with your daughter?
Yes, our daughter Emily and I walked it together. She's now in college and in the U.S., but she was 15, and she wanted to go originally. I had asked my older son, to go, and he said, "No, I have no desire to walk 500 miles across Spain in the heat." And Emily said, "I'll go, Mom," and so she came, and I think it was, it's like any experience with a teenager, but it was transformational for her.
Mm.
And it certainly was a big boost for her college essays. But since then, it's been a big part of like a grounding thing for her life. She got a lot out of it, and as did I. And we came back and we were just, we both felt like we need to go back to Spain, and Jeff had never been. And so he was all in. So that's what we did.
That's such a cool story. So Kelly, where did you first hear about the Camino? How did you even know about it?
Paulo Coelho's book, The Pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm.
I read
Yes.
it probably, in the 90s sometime. I'm a big fan of his. And I loved the idea that, he felt like he'd reached this sort of spiritual place that, he was getting ready to be given the sword, right? The keys.
Right.
And they took them away from him and said, no, you have to go do this thing. And I loved that sort of humbling that he had, even when he felt like he'd reached the pinnacle. And I don't know, it just resonated with me. So I always really wanted to go. And then I sort of had a crisis of, I don't know what you would call it, but I guess corporate burnout would be what I had.
Yeah.
And my husband said, you should go take that walk in Spain. And I was like, that's what I should do. Because I was sort of at loose ends at that point. And I'm really, really glad I did.
Mm-hmm.
So it changed everything. So.
Yeah, I guess so, right? You're going to take this walk in 2017, and by 2018, you guys were living in Spain? Or
yeah,
did
we
it take
could
until
have
2019?
2018. We moved March 1st, and we moved to Valencia first. Jeff has some pictures. You'll see. So Valencia is on the Mediterranean, like almost as far away from here as you can get.
Right.
And we moved March 1st during FIAS. Do you know anything about FIAS and
No, I don't.
Valencia?
No.
Yeah, we didn't know a lot about it either, but we learned. You could talk about what that was like to move during FIAS.
It's okay. So it lasts about three and a half weeks in March, and FIAS is basically like the 4th of July every day. There's fireworks every day.
Wow.
And they build these enormous effigies. You can see them behind us here. And on the last day, like on
700 of them throughout the city.
700 throughout the city. So almost every intersection is blocked by these giant these giant sculptures. They're made out of foam, and they're painted. All the neighborhoods get together and they build these things. And on the last day of the celebration, they light them all on fire. So the whole city looks like it's on fire.
Wow.
And so this is a tradition they've had for hundreds of years. And they have, what are the girls called? Falleras. Yeah. So all the girls compete. It's kind of like a pageant, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of a pageant.
Yeah.
And they are the neighborhood representative for the next year. Each neighborhood gets a fallera.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's like
what a
the
welcome
picture there. So
so we moved March 1st.
March 1st, right at the very beginning of it. And for the first month we were there, it was total chaos and loud every night. The fireworks go off 24/7.
Yes.
Wow.
And if you know anything about Valencia is the fireworks capital of Spain. They manufacture fireworks there. You can get a degree in pyrotechnics at the University of Valencia.
Oh, fun.
So people throw fireworks at you.
Yeah.
It was an amazing literally trial by fire of moving to Spain.
Yes.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, let's back up a little bit. So Jeff, Kelly, you encourage Kelly to go do this. She's having this corporate burnout, and you support, like, hey, go, you need to go. You're encouraging her. And then she comes back. She and Emily is your daughter?
Emily, yes.
Emily.
Yeah. So they come back, and it sounded like when I was reading a blog that you had written, I think it was a couple of words that you had written, that you were really up for making this move to Spain. It looked like you'd always lived a pretty adventurous life. We were doing a lot of cool things. But what was it about Kelly and Emily that you were just like, yeah, we should pick up a move to Spain? What did you see in them?
I felt like I had unfinished business here.
Okay.
You know, not so much from Barcelona, but almost from St. John on. I felt like almost like it was coming home. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And my daughter said to me, she said at one point, she said, I feel like we live in Spain now. And we were probably 3/4 of the way through the Camino. And she expressed regret for having to go home, you know, after we were done. And we were both really, really mourned it. You know, we stayed for 2 additional weeks. We went to France to see friends, and then we stayed in Tarragona on the Mediterranean, which I love Tarragona. But, you know, it's that sort of, I call it's like, you know, you have a vacation hangover on steroids, right? Yeah. And it was like almost a morning. And then we went home, and, you know, you just aren't the same after you walk a Camino, especially a long Camino. And Jeff saw that. You saw we weren't the same.
Yep.
And I think I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. I couldn't go home and get back into the rat race. So, yeah.
I think I really identify with that feeling. See, and
It's what?
I was asking Jeff, you know, what did you see? What changes did you see in Kelli when she came back?
She was energized. She had a lot of energy, and she just kind of playfully said, you know, what do you think about moving to Spain? And I said, let's do it, because we don't do anything small. We go all in every time.
It is true.
So, I mean, why not? When else are you going to do it? So why not do it now? So that's what we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first place you picked was in Valencia, which is not, you know, really on the Camino Frances. What made you decide on Valencia first? And then what made you decide to leave Valencia and move to Galicia?
Originally, I thought we would move more toward Tarragona. And then the situation in Catalonia they had the vote that year, the secession vote, and we weren't sure what was going to happen. And so I kind of went down the coast and said, okay, so let's do Valencia. I wanted to be in a place that had good transportation and a city-like environment. That's really what I wanted to do. Thought we wouldn't need a car. Valencia has a great metro system, lots of history, and it's on the Med. So, you know, it seemed like a good place to land. We said we'll do it for 6 months.
Yep.
We'll start out with 6 months, and then we'll see where we want it be. And 6 months, about 18 months later, we started looking. We knew we didn't want to stay in hot, sweaty Valencia.
No.
And we knew Galicia was where we wanted to be. And we started about 18 months in, we started looking at real estate. So this is probably fall of 2019. We got serious about it, came up here. We walked a Camino for a week just to kind of see, you know, is this really where we want to be? And then the next month we came up here and spent a week with real estate agents going all over the place.
Okay.
And then COVID hit. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how did the realtor find the actual place that you purchased, or did you guys see it as you were walking?
We saw it as we were walking.
Every pilgrim's dream.
Saw the sign.
But we didn't act on it. Well, yes, but we didn't act on it when we were here. COVID hit, and months went by. Like a year went by.
And actually, a year went by. Yes.
And I was looking online at real estate listings online, and we recognized the house that we'd seen before still for sale. And so then we reached out to the owners.
Excellent. Okay. So how long have you been there? Not that long.
End of April.
House.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took about 6 months for the purchase to go through.
Okay.
But yeah, since the very end of April, we moved here the 28th of April. Yeah.
Okay. And what are you thinking so far? How is it behind the curtain, like on the other side? You've gone from being a pilgrim to expats to now being on the other side of the Camino experience by supporting pilgrims as they walk by and kind of being a part of the Camino culture there. How is it different?
I would say that obviously the walking, it's very different when you're looking at people living along the way, because they have their own lives, they have their own thing going on, whether it's farming or industry or whatever their thing is, and it's a little bit harder to connect with them. You say hola or buenos dias or whatever, but being an expat on the Mediterranean was very different. It was kind of the antithesis of being a pilgrim, and so we got to experience that that sort of culture, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is a culture.
Yes.
What do you mean by that, Kelly?
There's a lot of people. I would say your general expat is probably retired in Spain, and doesn't have as much going on a day-to-day basis. They have probably hobbies, but not employment. Lots of less Americans, more Brits, more maybe Germans, or
Yeah.
But I would say moving here, well, when we lived in Valencia, I purposefully rented an apartment that was not filled with, the area was not filled with expats.
Okay.
So all of our neighbors spoke Spanish, or they spoke Valenciano. So we wanted to integrate with the culture. We wanted to learn Spanish. We wanted to have Spanish friends. It was very different. Valencians are, in our experience, well, friendly. Their view of an expat is very different than here. So Galicia is like, open your arms. We were here maybe 3 days when Marie Carmen,
Yes.
our next door neighbor, came over and brought us vegetables from her garden. Everyone in town is just absolutely embraced us. We couldn't have asked for a better place to land.
No.
When I compare it to the expat experience in Valencia, it's night and day.
Yeah.
We will never move from here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody here knows us. And we learned that when we walked into town after being here for a week. We walked the 5 kilometers into town to have dinner, and we took a taxi back home, and the taxi driver didn't ask us where we wanted to go. He knew who we were, and he's like, I know who you are. And he drove us right home, and he showed us where he lived along the way too.
Yes. Yes.
A lot different than living in Seattle or wherever you probably
Yes.
were in Arizona, right? And so where is town? Where do you walk into town?
We walk into Melide.
Okay, so you walk into
So
Melide.
we technically live in Palos de Rey, and we do our sort of municipal things at the town hall in Palos de Rey.
Okay.
But we walk into Melide, or we drive into Melide to go to the grocery store or whatever, those types of things, the hardware stores in Melide. Yeah.
Oh, I bet everybody listening and watching is so envious, remembering walking into there, and that's just where you go to shop. That sounds so fun.
Yes, that's where everything is. Yeah. And a lot of our friends are there now. They own businesses there and are very, very, helpful. They're so helpful for anything that we need. And they, they always introduce us. These are the Americans, in Palos de Rey, we're number 84 and 85?
84 and 85.
Since 2006, we're number 84 and 85 of immigrants. So.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes.
Very nice. So Kelly, I want to go back to your Camino and just kind of get an idea of, when you look back and you say, wow, this was the hardest day, and then contrast that to, the best day that you walked. So what day did you find the most challenging for yourself?
Golly. Well, I mean, the first one was rough just because I didn't really know what to expect. You know, you read a lot on those forums and you look at photos, like you said, it's two-dimensional.
Right.
And then the reality, and I was walking with a 15-year-old who was incredibly in shape. And she's looking at me like, you know, she's 100 yards ahead going, come on, you know. So that was a tough day, just from the kind of shock of, oh my gosh, you know, what is this like? But I will say, I kind of break my Camino up into sections. So it's really, to me, the first week I called the Trail of Tears. And I cried a lot. My daughter walked ahead a lot. She met people and she's faster than I am. And usually I'd say, you know, meet me in Zubiri or meet me in Azorfa or wherever it happens to be. And she'd be like, okay. And she would take off. So I spent a lot of time alone on my Camino, ironically, even though I was with my daughter. And I will say that first week was first 7 days was probably the Trail of Tears. Second 7 days was probably, you know, not so many tears, and the pain, the physical pain of it had started to kind of subside. And then, you know, got to the Meseta, from Burgos to Leon. And I know people talked about it like it's just, you know, you either bike it or you should take a bus around it, or it's just, you know, the 7th level of hell. I loved the Meseta.
Did you really?
My daughter,
Okay.
oh, I loved it. And my daughter said the same thing. Emily was like, Mom, that was some of the most beautiful parts of the whole Camino. And I felt like that's where I started to meet my stride. I got a cadence. I understood what to do. And the last 2 weeks was just a joy. The last 2 weeks, waking up every day in the dark at, you know, 4:30 or 5 and putting it all on and going was a joy. You know, once we hit Sagun, we both felt this way. It was almost a sadness because we knew that every day we were closer to Santiago. And and you didn't want to get there, you know?
Right.
But it was but you also felt like you were strong and you conquered your fear and the pain and the emotional difficulty and all these sort of trials that you go through on a Camino. And so there's joy as well as tears.
Yeah.
So.
What was your hardest trial?
Oh, golly. That's pretty personal. It's a really personal one. But I think I felt like in Astorga, my daughter and I sat down and we had a really long talk. And it was great. It was really good. And we walked together after Astorga every day. So it was good.
As a mama, I feel, wow, very envious that you got to do that with your daughter at 15, right?
Yeah.
And also that your daughter even got to walk at 15, you know, I'm thinking, you know, I did it at the young age of 54, I think. I can't imagine having that gift at 15 and then being able to share that gift with your daughter. That must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was good. We talk about it all the time, and she knows I'm going next week. And I said, I wish you were here. And she's like, I wish I was there too, but she can't be. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So you guys are getting ready to walk. So you guys are going to be starting, are you starting to Saint Jean, and both of you are walking with Pyrenees. So now to veteran pilgrims, you know, what are the top 3-4 things that you're like, man, make sure you have that in your backpack?
Duct tape.
Duct tape. All right.
Oh, duct tape. Yeah. Because you can use it for everything. For me, the Swiss Army knife you bought me, that you know, multi-tool Swiss Army knife, and definitely a sewing kit. I never had a blister on my first Camino, but I threaded a lot of other people's blisters. And I think people don't understand the value of threading a blister, but it really works. So yeah.
Okay, well, tell us, what do you do? I don't know if I know how to do it.
Well, it's just thread. You don't put a knot in it, and you dip it in alcohol, obviously, and then just put it through the blister, and then just take the needle off and leave it. And it will drain the blister without allowing bacteria to get in it, and it won't pop. And then you don't have the same problems that, so many pilgrims have a lot of blisters. And I met many people, some who literally had to stop their Camino because of blisters, and this just sort of drains them and they heal.
Wow. Okay, well, that's a fantastic tip. Okay, so on the reverse side, what are some things that you're like, why are you packing that, people? You don't need it. Because I know you've said on your blog post, like, Spain has everything, and you can buy almost everything you need. And everyone, I will have links for their blog and whatnot, so don't worry, you'll be able to look them up. But what is that thing that you're kind of like, guys, don't put that in there, you don't need it? What would be the top 3 things you don't need?
Top 3 things that you don't need. Trying to think of what was on the table in Roncesvalles that everybody, did you see that table? There's the big monastery albergue in Roncesvalles after everybody crosses the Pyrenees. There's this big table, and it was piled with things that people literally were like, after 2 days of walking over the Pyrenees, or one day, some people did it in one day. There's no way they were going to carry that for another 790 kilometers.
Do you remember anything funny on the table?
Lots of space blankets.
Space blankets, like those things after a marathon?
Yeah.
Lots
of those. People had those. There were at that time tents. People had brought their tents, and then they realized they didn't need them. Of course, now with COVID, you might need it.
Right.
So there's these, I don't know how to describe it. So they sell them at REI. It's like, so you go to the bathroom as a woman out into the woods. There were those on that table. Like, people realized, I don't need to carry this thing with me. I can
like a little shovel?
No, like a tube with a funnel.
The
forget what those things are called.
So for females, so you can stand and pee.
Yes. There were those on the table. But I mean, I think people realize, like, I'm not carrying this thing with me for the next 6 weeks or whatever, however long they were going to take to do it. So there were those things on there. There were lots of water bladders on that table. Now I've seen people walking by that have them and they're using them, and I think that's great. I think that's a personal choice, but I got REI's list and bought everything. You know that we went to REI and bought every tiny thing that was on there. And I think I've said it on my blog, I didn't need 3 bandanas, and everything has weight. Right. So
does your bag look a lot different for this next one you're going on than it looked that first time?
Oh, yes. Very, very, very different. Yeah. And the number of clothes that I thought I needed, I realized that I needed to be wearing a pair and have two changes of clothes in my bag. And then at night, there's a lot of people who I read before I went that brought pajamas or brought a dress to wear into town or those kinds of things. And basically what I did is every day I put on what I was going to wear the next day and I slept in it. And then I woke up in the morning, put my socks on, put my boots on and left in the dark. That's sort of what we did. So that's my recommendation of kind of how to manage the weight in your pack and clothing and all that.
Wonderful. Hey, those are some great tips. Not many of those things have been shared before, so that's wonderful.
Well, the other thing I would also recommend is buying underwear in very strange colors. because you're hanging them on a line with a lot of other people. And all my bras, my black sports bras, were gone by Logroño, because I think people didn't know. I mean, they look like everybody else's, right?
Right.
And so I had to buy bras in Logroño, and I realized I really should have, the best thing you do is buy like leopard print or bright pink or something.
I shall go shopping because all of mine are black. So that's a great tip.
That's the same thing. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay. I want to, because we kind of talked about, we've already brought up the word pee already. I have not discussed this ever on the podcast, but we're going to get into it because Jeff, I think I saw you had put this great bit of your blog post on one of the Facebook groups about, hey, Pilgrims, we can do better. I think it was you, Jeff, that wrote it, or maybe Kelly, maybe you wrote it.
Kelly wrote it.
I just feel like your name was on there, Jeff, for some reason. But anyway.
Probably.
Maria had shared it, and I was like, oh my gosh. But, the whole thing was kind of like, hey, Pilgrims, we can do better. So I'd really like to kind of talk about, people that are listening right now have maybe already walked the Camino or are going to go again, or for the first time. And, it's easy as a pilgrim, I think, to begin to walk and not realize that these are real people having real lives, which you just mentioned earlier, Kelly, that the people supporting us as we walk, they're real people. They're not employees of the, and they're in their lives. And I think that you mentioned maybe in that blog post that, people were sneaking behind your gate and peeing in your yard, which, we wouldn't really do that where we live, as badly as I need to go. Maybe sometimes I would not do that where I'm currently living. So I wonder if you guys could just kind of touch on, hey, Pilgrims, here's some tips, here's some things you can do better. Can we talk about that post?
Yeah.
Maybe share the things that you're seeing. I think there was like garbage being put in your fence line, in your mailbox.
Yes.
And
yes.
So can you kind of, for people that haven't seen that blog post, can you talk about that and maybe some ways that we can behave more respectfully while we're out there, and to remember that this is a real place that real people are living?
You want to start?
Well, it's just treat it like it's your own, like you live there. I basically just be more respectful. I mean, we have people that have open our gate to come in and throw their garbage in our recycling bins, and then we have to go and sort it out, or they put their garbage in our mailbox or stuff like that. So that's one of the things about living right on the Camino. I mean, we have 1,000 people that walk in front of our house every day.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think would go a long way to making the locals happy is be respectful for cars. Like groups of people walk down the middle of the street, and when cars come, they don't want to get out of the way. So just think about, would you do that in your own house or your own town? Just simple stuff, pretty much. It's the stuff that we experience every day.
Every day. Why is there garbage being put in your mailbox? I don't understand.
We really didn't understand it either.
I think it's because that we are about 100 meters short of where the dumpster is, and they don't know that if they just walked another 100 meters, there's a great big public dumpster that they can throw their garbage away. And before that, it's probably a couple kilometers since the last garbage can.
Yes.
So they don't know.
We thought about putting a sign on the gate that said the dumpster is 100 meters down the way.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. But we also want to be as supportive of Pilgrims as we can. It's not that we chose to live here. We wanted to be Camino adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
And the culture.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We
definitely.
love the culture of it. And supporting folks, and there's an energy that's here that because you walk the Camino, so you know what that energy is. Yeah. We live it every day.
Right. Now,
just by being close to it. And so that's a privilege. We understand that. We just want to make sure that everybody gets to enjoy it at the same level, right? Yeah. If there's trash everywhere, then the people who come up behind you aren't going to have the same experience. So, yeah.
Yeah, my friend Kim, who lives at the Stoneboat in Ravenel, way down the road from you, talks about this river of Camino energy just flowing right by her door. what does that feel like? I can't even imagine to like look out your window and, I just went the weekend with a bunch of pilgrims, which was awesome. But you guys are seeing that every single day. I know maybe during COVID, not as much as we, would have, if that hadn't happened, but I'm just saying it's picking back up. There are people coming by your house. I'm imagining every single day right now.
Sometimes 2,000 people.
2,000 people. What does that feel
Yep.
like to have 2,000 people coming by? Are you kind of getting, like a big deal, or is it still like goosebumpy?
We're getting used to it. When we first moved here, there weren't very many pilgrims because it was April, and we would see maybe a couple dozen, and we go, "Oh, there's someone walking now." And then a month went by, and it's like, "Oh, look, they've been walking by for hours," and now we get 2,000, 2,500 pilgrims on a Tuesday or a Wednesday walking in front of our house. The other days are not quite as much. It's just because we're 3 days away from Sarria, so everybody starts and walks a shorter Camino from Sarria, but it takes them a couple days to get here, and they all come in as a big group. There's people singing, there's music, we've horses, there's all kinds of pilgrims that go by.
Yes. And it is interesting, you can tell the difference between the folks that started in Sarria and the folks that started in Belgium or Germany or Lipuli or St. John. They have a different look to them. And usually the ones in Sarria are the singers and the ones with the flag, and they have matching shirts and those kinds of lots of students. But the long haul walkers are they're quiet.
They're quiet. They're usually by themselves.
Or maybe two people.
Maybe two, yeah.
Yeah. But even the two people walking, they're quiet. It's a very different, you sense a different energy. Yeah.
I know one day I was reading one of your blogs, Kelly, and I thought, if I had it correctly, that you were kind of talking about that there's this delicate balance in living on the Camino that, you might be tempted to run out to talk to every pilgrim, but sometimes you're needing to kind of step back and give them space. Yeah. So how does that work? Like, are you just kind of reading their face, their energy as they're walking by? How do you know when that pilgrim needs space?
I think you can tell. I think people have an energy field around them. We say hello to a lot of people. We drink our coffee in the morning, and people walk by the gate and they look in, and sometimes they take pictures, and we wave, and Buen Camino. When I'm walking into Melide, you can tell the people that you can talk to, or that you can interact with, or even say Buen Camino to, and people that they're doing their own thing today. So I think, it's that one time it was pouring rain. Remember, it was just monsoon raining, and you were like, oh, we should, and it was early May, I think. There weren't many pilgrims, and they were it was a deluge. And Jeff said, should we offer people to come and stand under the front porch, until it breaks? And I said, no. And if they ask, of course, they're welcome to do that. But part of your Camino is I guess proving to yourself that you can get through difficult things. And those days in the rain that were hard were good days too. Just the rain isn't what makes it a bad day. Right. So we feel like we're here. We offer people water to fill their water bottles in our well, and we're here if people need us. But we both have agreed we don't want to interfere with people's Camino. We're not here to insert ourselves in their experience. So.
I love that. I love how you are not inserting yourself in their story, but yet if they need help, you're there as a supporter, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Have you created a stamp or anything? Or stamp in passports or anything?
We have.
We have
created a stamp.
Oh, what's it look like? Is that what's up in the corner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it looks like a little yogi sitting meditating. Tell me about it.
Yep.
Yes. So we plan to open our Happiness Cafe food truck
Yes.
by the gate
Great.
next spring. And why that? Well, so I knew I would need a logo. And so I contracted with the guy in Czechoslovakia, and he designed it for me, and it was great. And so I had this logo. And then when the bed shortage became so, critical,
Right.
here, it was in the newspaper. We were down to 30%.
30 or 35%.
Yeah,
Something like
for the albergues that were open.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of albergues that had already gone bankrupt, so it was 30%
Right.
of those that were open. And Pilgrims were sleeping outside. I think you know all about this. They were sleeping
Right.
outside in Porto Marin, and there were nights where there were over 200 people sleeping outside, and
There were that many.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And Palos de Rey, same type of thing. They didn't have enough. And then they had an outbreak among the Pilgrims, and they had to take one whole albergue and turn it into a quarantine
Right.
center for these folks. And we saw people walking that had, clearly walked a long, long way just looking for beds. And we read an article in the newspaper about a couple that had walked from Sarria to Palos in one day. Yeah, which is just I don't even know how you would do that. So I read that article. I was up early one morning, and Jeff woke up, and I said, "Here's the situation," and he said, "Let's go." So we went to Decathlon in Lugo, and we were there when they opened, and we bought 10 tents and 10 sleeping pads, and we put them up in our front yard, and we put a sign on the gate and said, if you don't have a bed, we have tents.
Excellent.
So we started allowing Pilgrims to come and sleep in the tents. And then we started serving olives and wine. And then we started feeding them dinner. And then we started feeding them breakfast and coffee. And it just sort of built.
But it was so much fun.
So you became an albergue overnight.
Yes, sort of. Well,
a free
one. Yes,
we didn't charge Tebow, right?
Yeah, we didn't.
No, just free.
Just free. Plain out free. Yeah.
Yeah, I made big things of lasagna or soup, and more and more people started coming, and then people started coming with their own tents and saying, do you have room? We didn't have room, but they had tents, so we let them put their tents up in our front yard, and
we got the
shower in the hose. I mean, they were it was crazy.
We talked to people from all over Europe that stopped by. It was mainly the people that stayed here were people they were the long hauler people that came from way upstream of Sarria.
Yeah, that's all we got.
Now, are you still doing this, or have you stopped doing it?
We've stopped doing it because we're getting ready to leave.
Oh, okay.
And go on our trip, and we really felt like we needed to sort of wrap that up and get everything ready to go here before we head out. So we aren't doing it anymore. And now the albergues are operating at 50%.
Yes. Yeah.
And contagion has gone way, way down here. It's much safer here. And I have a feeling that we're not long from them being open 75%. So the bed capacity went up about the time that we stopped doing it. So the locals were very interested.
Yeah. I bet.
So
were they supportive of this? Because, you have people camping in your yard, which, that's been a question about wild camping, right? During this whole COVID thing, when there's been a bed shortage. So I want to kind of talk about a couple of things on this. You say that you're seeing a difference because there were reports, like you said, about Porto Marin, that people were sleeping outside. I didn't know the number was that high.
Yeah.
Are you still hearing that there are bed shortages in that last 100 kilometers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Depends on the day. You talk about that.
Yeah, it depends on where so people the groups of people sort of move in waves. So everybody kind of leaves Sarria on a Sunday, and they get to Porto Marin on a Monday, they get to Palos on a Tuesday, they get to Melide on a Wednesday. So it's the same group of people creating these big shortages one day a week as they move along.
1 or 2 days.
1 or 2 days, yeah.
Yeah.
So depending on where you are, you could have a shortage of beds in any given town. So
the best thing to do is, if you can get a bed, stay where you are. If you're in that wave, stay an extra day, because because then the wave moves on, and then you're
Well-
just a day behind the wave, which means that you won't miss out on a bed.
Will they let you stay that second day right now?
You can stay in a different albergue.
Okay, so just stay in a different albergue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys, that reminds me, I think you guys did have a blog post about starting different days, like, maybe not leaving Saria right on Sunday, or kind of varying that. And what was the day that you had recommended? Was there?
You said Tuesday through Friday. I think
Yeah.
you said.
If you can leave Tuesday through Friday, you will not be in that wave. That's Saria wave.
Okay. I like how you're calling that. That's very good.
Yeah.
So are you guys thinking that this is also because it's been August and we have, a lot of Spaniards, I imagine, walking during this holiday month, I'm guessing. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And then also a lot of Europeans finishing up their trips for the summer. And so I know a lot of Europeans will kind of divide their Caminos up in a couple of weeks and, come one year and do a section and next year do another section. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that the shortage from Saria is kind of going to go away after August into September, and that people starting their walks in September and October maybe won't see these same shortages? Or do you think that's just completely unknown at this point?
I think that school doesn't start here until for a couple more weeks.
Okay.
So, it's possible that it'll continue just until the middle of September, but people are going back to work. Kids will go back to school. We are already starting to see there's less pilgrims every day than there were before.
Mm-hmm.
So when the 200 beds is a lot, but like I said, the capacity now is 50%. That's when it was at 30%. So I think the tipping point is starting to go in the pilgrims' favor as far as bed capacity.
And the contagion's going down, so they're opening up more and more. So
yeah.
Such good news. So the whole wild camping, has that been a little more tolerated during all of this, or is it still not okay to just pitch your tent?
I think it's tolerated as long as you're being respectful. If you shouldn't have a campfire, as long as you can practice leave no trace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody would give you a hard time.
Okay.
You could probably camp in a municipal park without, and if a police officer came and talked to you, he would understand. He wouldn't throw you in jail or fine you or whatever.
No.
They would be like, there's no room. You got to stay somewhere. It's either sleeping in a tent or you're sleeping on a bench or laying on the sidewalk. So
Yeah.
they'd prefer you to be in a tent, I think, because you're a little safer.
I will say the Guardia Civil here,
Yeah.
Galicia relies on those pilgrims and pilgrims coming. These towns rely on them.
Mm-hmm.
And the police are patrolling the Camino constantly.
Yep.
We see them constantly along here.
Mm-hmm.
And we see them on ATVs and horseback, and they're here to support the pilgrims. You don't see them. I see the Guardia Civil as almost a facilitator of the Camino, and less of a I guess, reprimanding people doing the wrong thing. They understand these people are out here trying to do something that is really noble, and they want to support that. You can talk about your interaction with the Guardia Civil.
They stopped by the house here because they wanted to know if we were running a campground with all the tents in the front yard.
Oh boy, okay.
And so I thought, oh, maybe I'm in a little bit of trouble here.
Even though it's free.
Even though everything was free, but we were taking down people's names and their passport number and do all the stuff that the albergues are doing for contact tracing.
Yes.
And when they saw that and they heard that everything was free, they were okay with it. They were a little concerned that if something bad happened on our property, we could be liable for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was their only concern of the whole thing.
But they said,
But
you're not doing anything illegal.
We're not doing anything illegal. And so what I recommend people who are thinking about camping or bringing a tent along the Camino and they can't find a place to stay, ask one of the property owners, a private property owner, if they can just camp in their front yard. Because I've talked to several people and our neighbors are like, sure, you can camp in our yard. So you just have to be brave enough to go up and knock on a door and ask.
With your cell phone in Google Translate and say, I have no bed to sleep and I'm a pilgrim. Can I pitch my tent here? And I guarantee you, probably 9 out of 10 Gallegos will tell you, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you are thinking about starting a food truck, a Happiness Cafe food truck, is that?
Yes. Yes.
So, okay, so next year, okay, so on your blog, you had some information about that you're writing a book, which we're going to get to in a second, or you've already written it, but you're going to start a podcast, you're going to open an albergue, and also have the food truck. How are you guys doing all this? Do you have like a, is it just the two of you are there? None of your kids are with you right now,
No, our
right?
kids are all back in the US. So they're grown or in college or working.
Okay.
So it's just us two.
So how are you guys going to do all this? That's a lot.
So the albergue side of things, I think what we really want to do is an eco albergue. So our idea is like small, sustainable cabins. We're not planning on doing something that is, going to be the traditional big warehousey type thing with bunk beds.
Yeah.
And, my feeling was that, and you had this too when you walked, by the time you've reached here, you are done with the bunk bed. If there's an option to kind of have some privacy and all of that, you'd be up for that. So we're going to build those, but that's not for next year. That's down the road.
Okay.
So the writing is something I do all the time. So that's not something not an additive thing, just the food truck. So we figured, we've got all this space. We have quite a large piece of property. We're right on the Camino. We got a good spot right next to the gate. There's a whole lot of people who are interested in, getting water, getting something to drink, having something to eat, taking a break at this point. And we feel like it's a good spot. So I'm going to have it manufactured in Barcelona, and then we'll just tow it here and open for business. Doing this little campground, that happy camper pop-up albergue campground that I called it. Free campground on the Camino. Really kind of helped us understand sort of what that was all about, and how to do it and how not to do it, and what people were interested in. And so, Jeff was like, this is like a startup, we're giving it away for free right now just to see how it goes and to learn, and then we'll go live next spring. So
wow, that's so cool. So the food truck won't be one you'll be driving around. It's going to be more of a fixed building that will be on your property.
Yes,
but not inside your home.
No.
Right.
Cool.
And we'll have tables and a cover to get out of the weather, because people will want that. It rains a lot here when it's not summertime. So we're super excited. We'll learn a ton. Yeah. And I'm really interested in doing a podcast from the cafe.
Yes.
Yes. And, opportunistically meeting people and saying, would you like to sit down and tell your story? And I think, we talked to a lot of folks that came and stayed in the tents when we were operating that, and people's stories while they're on the Camino are so amazing. And especially when you have folks that have walked for a really long time, the things they have to share about what they've learned by this point, 3 days from Santiago, is profound.
Yes.
And it wasn't, it's pretty incredible. Some of these, we'd be like, they'd come at 2:00 or 3:00 in the afternoon, and, there's no way they were going to get a bed in Melide. So they were thrilled to have a spot, and we'd sit down and have a glass of wine with them. And all of a sudden, 3 hours went by listening to their stories. And I'd like to be able to facilitate, much like you, I'd like to be able to facilitate that, but at a point on the Camino that where people are sort of cracked open, ready to share.
Yeah, you're in a great location for that. Well, first off, I just kind of started this whole thing, it just kind of organically grew, but if I can be of any help, I would definitely love to help you. And I got to tell you, being able to speak to pilgrims, I probably speak to 2 or 3 pilgrims a week. And it is just going to light up your world. Like there's nothing like, there's nothing like hearing a Camino story. And I think we pilgrims like to talk about our Caminos. So I think that it's a way for us to give back as pilgrims, is to allow another pilgrim to have a place to share their story. I think it's so powerful. Yes. So I'm so excited that you're doing that. I think that's great. So let me know how I can help you when you get to that point, and we'll make sure that we get all of your information out on our Facebook page and all that kind of stuff as well. So great. Wow, so many things. I think I could talk to you guys for hours, but we are way beyond, I think, the amount of time that I promised I would take from you tonight. So I just kind of want to end it with, there's my favorite quote about the Camino is that, the Camino doesn't give you what you think you want, it gives you what you need.
Yes.
And I'm wondering at this point, looking back to 2017, you had a reason to walk. But now looking back, look where you are, you didn't just walk, you've moved to Spain, and not just moved to Spain, but moved literally on the path.
Yes.
You probably couldn't have imagined that happening when you set foot that first day in Spain. So tell me a little bit about, how it feels right now to have this dream come true. Is it a dream? Is it a vocation? What is it? What did it give? What did it provide you that you now know, looking back, you needed?
Wow, that's big. That's a big question. I think, when I started walking, I said it today, and on my blog post today, actually, I really had no idea what I was in for. And I stood outside that albergue on that balcony at night. It was in St. John. My daughter was asleep and I couldn't sleep. I was very nervous, about what was coming the next day. I mean, you're in St. John, you look up, there's mountains and you're going up, right? And I wasn't in the best shape I'd ever been in my life. I wasn't 25. Right. And I just stood out there and I looked at the stars and I thought, oh my gosh. And I just thought, I need to say a prayer. And I held my hands up and I said, whatever this is going to be, I don't know what this is going to be, but whatever it's going to be, I'm open to it. And at that moment, I felt like, okay, like it's okay that I don't know. And it kind of cracked me open for whatever came down the road with me, or for me. And I couldn't have imagined, even when we were in Santiago, I couldn't have imagined that I would come home and Jeff would say, okay, it's a crazy thing. Like people talk about it, but you never do it. Right. And I said this to you today, actually. He's a remarkable person in that you are, because, there's a lot of people that come home, and I felt this, I came back and I had a hard time relating to friends, because they continued to live the life that I lived before, and nothing against that. But right. We had now there was a chasm between us. And I felt bad. I kind of mourned that. But I think it brought Jeff and I closer together, actually. And he embraced the person that came back from her Camino, fully embraced me and didn't have expectations that I was going to go back to the person I had been before. He understood that I was different now.
Yeah.
And he was all in. So that I was very lucky. That's the only way that all this happened.
Yeah. I think I'm not far from your place. Someone told me that, I was so excited to get to Santiago and couldn't wait. And they just kind of looked at me and said, "Oh, it doesn't end there. It's just starting."
Yes.
And I think you two are living proof that your Camino's still going, and it's going strong.
Yes. It's true. It's true. And I think, now that Jeff walked for a week, we both walked together in October of 2019, and you got a taste of it. And I remember you said to me, I could do this for a month. And it was pouring rain on the way to Portomarin, and you said that.
Yeah.
And now that we live on the Camino and we're next to all that energy every day.
We wake up to the click clacks of walking sticks every morning.
And you know that energy, and that feeling. And so it's nice to have a partner in life to share that with, who understands it. Yeah.
I can't imagine. And waking up to that every morning. And I think it's so cool. I would imagine that maybe people that haven't walked yet, that are listening or watching this interview, to see that you guys live right there and you still walk, and you're getting ready to walk again. And I would love to catch up with you if you have good Wi-Fi, and we can catch up partway through your next walk. It'd be great to get some live reports on how things are going, because I know a lot of people that are planning Caminos right now. There's so much talk on Facebook, a lot of guessing and predicting, and so I really like to talk to people that are out there and seeing with their own eyes what's happening, even though that can change, obviously, from day to day. But I just know for me that, I'm getting to walk as well, and I'm getting ready to go, and being able to hear what's happening live is just so powerful. So
yeah, happy to do it.
Would be great. And awesome. And I want to meet the both of you when I get to Spain, and keep up with your story, and be able to share with folks all the great things that you're doing. I think this is every pilgrim's dream, I think, pretty much, is to, you see those for sale signs, it's pretty tempting to go in there and live. But like you said, not everybody does it. And I think when you actually go and do it, it's just amazing. It's amazing to watch. So thank you for coming to the Camino Cafe and sharing your story. This has been so fun getting to meet you. And
thanks for having us.
Well, you're very welcome. You're welcome back to the Camino Cafe anytime. And hopefully we can do a live chat while you're out there walking and hear more. So thank you so much. And viewers, listeners, please give us a thumbs up, a rating. And any comments. I know that Kelli and Jeff would probably love to hear from you. And, this has been still a hard year, right, for all of us. And so any comments just kind of gives us that extra pilgrim energy to keep on going, and waiting for that bigger river of pilgrims to start coming as the world heals. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone. And until next time, Buen Camino.
Buen Camino.
Kelli and Jeff, if you'll just stay on for a second, we'll say goodbye.
En la vida ya están aquí las cosas que necesito. En la vida ya están aquí. I am free, free as a bird now, with my feathered wings. I am free, free as a bird now, with my feathers